Puppet Theater Company presents Andy Warhol at the 6 p.m. showing. Take 3. Good evening, my friends. Thank you for coming. Thank you, audience, for being here. I would like to present to you a very important fellow, my name, by the way, is Ludwig van Beethoven. I'm a musician and artist. And today, at the Puppet Theater Company, 6 p.m. showing, I would like to present to you my good friend and eminent artist, Mr. Andy Warhol. Welcome him. Thank you. Hello, my name is Andy Warhol. How are you? Hope everybody's doing well. The subject of this talk is something that was brought up to me recently by a friend and colleague, poet, Mr. Samuel Dilemos. He was talking about his dissatisfaction with modernism and the way that art has been coming along in contemporary societies. And I feel that this is a very interesting topic because modernism and the modern is a very complex structure. A structure built on technological advances, technology, and logic, logos. So we have this situation, this philosophical dichotomy between art making, technique, or technology, and logic coming to a crash. And I believe it was Walter Benjamin who brought this up about the age of mechanical reproduction, which caused art to take a serious reflection, look at themselves as is a Hegelian introspection dialectic, and we are left with what is being shown at museums and galleries today, and what is being championed by art critics as the new. And this is a problem. What is, I believe, a sense of category of novelty, that art has become a form of novelty. Let's think about that for a moment. What is new, and the shock of the new and the need for the new is rampant in our society. We have new cars coming out every other month, better than the ones that they had the month prior. We have new phones, new technology in the phones, better cameras, faster chips, faster search engines, artificial intelligence. Everything is becoming so fast and so new that it's hard to really stop and contemplate. Because in the production of art, especially in the production of art that one does with one's hands, or as Walter Benjamin says, the aura of creation, that means that the artist himself is creating, is less and less. There are some artists that are creating by hand, and there are some artists like myself who had a company of people creating my art. Is it still art? These are the questions that make us ponder what is art, what is considered art. And this has been a question since, I believe, the Scream that came out in the 1800s of modernism. And why was modernism brought forth? What caused this to come forward? This novelty, this idea of novelty as art, and art as novelty. These are very important questions that we have to ask, and perhaps part of it has to do with photography coming to the fore and making the image of man, portraits, architecture, inside and outside photography changed as it was more accessible, hard to reproduce something so real, as it copied everything as it was. If you see a picture of a man in New York, or of an American Indian the photograph captures the image perfectly. Even though if it was black and white, doesn't matter. Still, you could see the lines, the eyes, the face, the hair, everything. And this caused a stir, I believe, in painting, in art production. How can you compete with something like that? Something that's so real and so innovative and so accessible and commodifiable and mass producible. These are important philosophical, economical questions. So the artist, the painter, had to think outside the box. Edvard Munch captured that in his painting, The Scream. He was probably the first, and then after that, Picasso with La Demoiselle d'Avignon. But let's go back to Edvard Munch. Edvard Munch captured something very odd in the history of art. Well, there's been other odd things in the history of art prior, but this one was very, very instrumental. And it's the agony and the posture and the reproduction of a scream of angst, of suffering. And I think this is something that was a crucible that was crossed in the world of art. And that is showing, or Monet's garden, or Manet's garden, or Pissarro's gardens. There's something more to the world than gardens, flowers, beauty, visual beauty, and strolling in parks, as the Expressionists did. That this angst and suffering and scream, primal scream, has to do with this world being also very hard, tragic, and full of horrific events that shape our realities as well. So in modern art, we start seeing the ugliness of life, the ugliness of life coming forward, and showing us that these are realities too. These are the realities of life. It's not just butterflies and rainbows, hugs and kisses, and beautiful family lives, but divorce, murder, capital punishment, traffic, congestion, hunger, the effects of colonialism, the effects of consumerism, debt, and slavery to debt. All these things make up the reality of where we live. And sure, we could choose, as some poets do, to just concentrate on the beautiful, on the perception of what they feel is beautiful. But these are tainted, fragmented misinformation about life. If somebody would come from another planet, for example, an alien, and would look at these images of beauty, of flowers and gardens, of beautiful women dancing, of picnics and family lives, they would, and then the aliens seeing how the world actually is, where there's people starving and people being murdered and exterminated in certain parts of this world, and wars and famine and hunger, they would say, what happened? Where's all the information? Part of this information is missing. So in that respect, modernists and postmodernists have pushed the envelope of what is truth. It's a very difficult concept in itself, the idea of truth. But what is facts? What is factual about this life is that this life is very difficult, hard, and full of pain, as it is full of beauty and leaves shimmering in the sunlight and breezes by the ocean and beautiful fish and birds singing. There's a duality of what makes our reality. So this idea of modernism, though it's ugly and painful sometimes to see as art, also shows us what is reality. Now, it's art like this is cold as well, and it seems almost soulless. And I've had this conversation with the poet Delemos, who felt that when he went to Germany and to Berlin to the museums and went into a museum of modern art, it started to feel cold. The architecture, modernist architecture, the paintings, the reductionism, everything is in modern art and postmodern art has become a form of reductionist idea, minimalism. All these things felt as if it didn't have a soul. And this is a problem as well in modern and postmodern art. I had a collaboration with Jean-Michel Basquiat, paintings that we did, which brought a little bit more of expressionist feelings to it, as Jean-Michel scribbled almost as it's bringing back the idea of the Anasazi and the scribbling and the hieroglyphics and petroglyphs that exist in America and other places of the world. These expressionist, simplistic drawings. And I felt so happy to see those kinds of drawings coming back as if it's going full circle. Well, maybe that's what we need to do. Maybe this is a Hegelian dialectic where we're going into thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. I'm not sure. All I know is that we need to push forward. And maybe what we need to do is find the poetic in life and paint from a poetic standpoint. And maybe this is the cure for a soulless modernist of war of art. I will leave you with that thought of the poetic in art. And thank you for listening to me. Have a wonderful day. Bravo, Mr. Warhol. Thank you for giving us that insight on the poetic, on Edvard Munch, Primal Scream, and the ugliness of life juxtaposed with the beauty of life. I appreciate you coming here. And with that, I say adieu.